As this year begins to come to a close, I have a great episode for you. I wanted to bring on this episode's guest, Melanie Moore, who is an expert in creating vision boards. Now, you may think you knew everything about making these collages of your desires, but Melanie takes us a few steps deeper. So get your goals together for the new year and come on in. Did you know that our struggle with weight doesn't start with the food on your plate or get fixed in the gym? 80% of our weight struggle is mental. That's right. The key to unlocking long-term weight release and management begins in your mind. Hi there, I'm Rita Black. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, weight loss expert, best-selling author, and the creator of the Shift Weight Mastery process. And not only have I helped thousands of people over the past 20 years achieve long-term weight mastery, I am also a former weight struggler, carb addict, and binge eater. And after 2 decades of failed diets and fad weight loss programs, I lost 40 pounds with the help of hypnosis. Not only did I release all that weight, I have kept it off for 25 years. Enter the Thin Thinking podcast, where you too will learn how to remove the mental roadblocks that keep you struggling. I'll give you the thin thinking tools, skills, and insights to help you develop the mindset you need, not only to achieve your ideal weight, but to stay there long term and live your best life. Sound good? Let's get started. Hello, my lovelies. I hope you are having an amazing holiday season. As we are heading into holiday ground zero this week, I hope this episode finds you enjoying the best of the season and taking care of yourself, staying healthy in all ways. Sickness free and overeating free, and really just taking care of yourself. I've been stocking up on healthy treats and trying to meditate every morning and making sure I'm taking care of myself. If you need help, check out my most recent podcasts regarding taking care of yourself over the holidays. Please, I think you'll find them really helpful. Now, I have everyone at home, so I am in heaven. I love this time of year because things slow down and all this stressful holiday stuff is kind of coming to a close. I've gotten all my shopping done online and offline. I've gotten all the Christmas cards written. We've got all the stuff done. And now we can just chill out and visit with our friends, our neighbors, and all the people in our life that matters. We're not really going to see family this year, but we're going to do some Zooms with our family. So, but we are going to be hanging with friends. It's also that time of year where we begin to reflect on the past year and look forward to the next with our plan. With the Shift Weight Mastery process, I basically plan everything ahead for the next 12 months. I know when the next shifts are happening. I know what my monthly group is up to. When you own a business, you have to think ahead. That's the business part of it, but there's a lots more to the year than just my business. Although my business is my life and my love, but there's also what I consider, my family goals, my fun goals, my house goals, and there's just that sprinkling of magic over the year as well. So that's where my guest, Melanie Moore, comes in. She is my holiday treat for you all as she dives into her expertise of walking us through how to make a vision board. So Melanie Moore is the UK's leading vision board expert and award-winning coach. She inspires her clients to tap into their big vision and gives them the mindset tools to change the trajectory of their lives. She helps people at the crossroads in their life to get clear on their big vision, then commit to this vision by taking bold action towards their goals and creating their dream life. She is the host of the weekly show, Tapping with Mel, and the creator of transformational neural technique, a unique process that clears the past, which then clears the path so that lasting transformation can happen. Melanie is on a mission to help millions of people dream bigger, think bigger, and act bigger. And I absolutely love Melanie, and I know you will too. Melanie Moore, please come on into Thin Thinking. Well, welcome back to Thin Thinking, Melanie. It's so great to have you back, and at this time of year, because you're the queen of vision boards. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Rita. How are you?
Oh, I'm awesome. I am excited. I'm excited about the new year, although I have to say this last year went the quickest of all the years. What do you think? Was that this
I,
crazy for
I,
you?
it feels like someone's had the finger on the fast forward button, and it's just like another week's gone by, another week's gone by,
Can
and
you
where
believe
has
it?
this year gone?
And do you know why that is? Because we both have children heading off to college, and it's
Yeah.
zany when they need you that much. But it does. It feels like you want them, you want to take advantage of this year because they're going to be leaving home, but at the same time, there's so much involved in getting a child into college. I don't remember my parents paying that much attention. I think they
I
were
was
like,
just saying the same thing. I think I said to my mum and dad, Mum, Dad, I'm going here. They're like, okay.
yeah. I mean, I think they cared, but they weren't, the amount of energy and focus that it requires nowadays to be a parent of a college-bound child is it's zany. Anyway, so but we are not here for our children. We are here for us, Melanie, right? This is our year. Um,
Yes.
and it is the perfect time as we head into the holidays to be thinking about the upcoming year. So a lot of people, and I know myself, like to plan out the year. And you are an expert in creating vision board, and meditating and tapping all around vision. So I thought I would bring you on and have you kind of help us out. Those of my listeners who maybe have never done a vision board, maybe you can inspire them. And those who think they are vision board experts, maybe you can give them some insights that they might not have had before, because it is kind of an overwhelming idea of putting something like that together. Would you say?
Yeah, and it's interesting you're saying about, our children going to college. I do feel that I particularly like to help women who are at a crossroads in their life, and I do feel that
Mm,
when the children are flying the nest, this is a transitional period for us. It's suddenly a new chapter. It's like, oh my gosh, I've been doing, being this parent for, 18 years, and what's the next chapter for me? And it's funny, I talk about these crossroads an awful lot, because I think about the crossroads and these transitional periods I've been in my life as a woman, as a mum, as a business owner, and becoming a mother. That was a transitional period, leaving my corporate career, starting my own business. Um, and also when my marriage ended as well, facing life as a single parent. These were all big milestones for me that made me, I guess, which is why I kind of really got into vision boards, because
mm,
I had to think about, you know, what what's happening now in my life. What is this next chapter looking like for me? Um, what do I want to create? What are the things I want to accomplish? Because I think unless we stop and make some time to plan out the next chapter, our life can just blend into one big kind of like, imagine looking back, well, what did I do with my life?
right.
And this is why we have to, make
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah, it is. It's, I say to my clients all the time, you either live your life defensively, meaning reacting to life, or you live it
Mhm.
creatively, where you are the center and the at cause. And I agree with you 100% that creating visions engages your brain on a different level, that just hoping I hope I have a good year. Let's
Yes,
let's create a good year. I tell this to my
exactly.
children all the time. Um, Oh, well, cool. So now, was there an initial vision board? Like, how did you get into creating vision boards? I mean, it sounds like you've gone through a lot of transitions, but was there a one moment or one vision board that was something that was created the difference?
Um, yeah, well, I guess um when I started my business, when I left my corporate career, I trained as a holistic therapist to begin with. I was doing Reiki, reflexology, and then I transitioned to EFT tapping. And so I was doing that for a couple of years, and I built up a client base of, one-to-one clients. And but I was at the time I was always very interested in personal development, law of attraction, manifesting. And with my existing client base, I started doing these evening workshops. And on one of the workshops, I said, let's create these vision boards. Let's create a vision board. I've just been reading about them in The Secret. Let's create a vision board together. And I do remember that, the very first one I ever did, it was very, you know, literally just right. Let's all get together, stack of magazines, big bits of cardboard, and we just cut out pretty pictures, stuck them on a piece of paper. But it was fun. And then I thought, okay, that was fun. Let's do some more of these. And they evolved and they grew. So I had two parts of the business. One part, the holistic therapy, then more just focusing on tapping. And then the other part where I was just doing vision board workshops. And these grew and they got bigger. And then at some point, it must have been about 6, 7 years ago, I blended the two together. I included tapping and the vision boards
Oh, wow,
together.
cool.
And then they became really big. And yeah, I did them in hotels, did in bigger venues, and eventually I was hired by kind of big corporate companies to do them for their sales teams. And then obviously COVID struck. And actually before the pandemic, I started doing the vision board workshops online. And at first of all, I think, oh gosh, how's this going to work? Because they were always in-person affairs. But yeah, they just eventually grew and evolved. And now, they're all hosted on Zoom. And I couldn't think of a better way to do it because, being in a Zoom room together, it's like you're on Zoom. And plus the process has become so refined where I'm literally on, nearly a decade into doing vision board workshops that I renamed my company Tapping Into Your Big Vision about 5 years ago. So that's the name
Wow.
of my business, my company, my brand. And yeah, and that's evolved into this new process, which we'll talk about in a minute. But was there one
Yeah.
particular, yeah, sorry, the original question, was there one particular vision board? I
Hmm.
think it was around the time when I really wanted to kind of go bigger in my business, to take my one-to-one therapy practice to an online business. That's when I started really thinking about the bigger vision. And it kind of coincided with me, my marriage ending and being a single parent as well, that this was a really big crossroads for me. That's right, that's it. What's this vision going to look like?
Wow, that's so cool. Um, so, and I know you mentioned like a Disneyland story. What's that?
Oh, well, I do love sharing stories of, you know, the vision becoming a reality. So I've been doing, and, I think the vision board is a really fun thing to do with your kids, with your partner. And I think when you're all on the same page doing a family vision together. So we're going back to, I think it was 2015 now. My daughter was 8 years old at the time, and I was doing these vision board workshops, and she really wanted to go to Disneyland. No, sorry, Disney World. It is in Orlando, because a couple of her friends had just been, and it's kind of it was a year the marriage ended, and to be honest, I couldn't really afford a trip to Disneyland. But
Yeah.
as I'm kind of a very a master of language, I would never dream of saying the words, we can't afford this. And I said to my daughter, I said, look, honey, I don't know when we're going to go, but I promise you one day we will go. But in the meantime, let's make a vision board. So we got together, we got all these travel brochures, and she cut out all the pictures. She made it double-sided, and she was so definite about what she wanted, where she wanted to go. She wanted to go to the Harry Potter experience. She wanted to swim with dolphins. So it wasn't just Disneyland. There was a whole load of things she wanted to do in Orlando. And I remember clearly we made this in March 2015. And I guess this is where all my other practices come in as well. Because in my rational adult mind, I was going to have to make the money in my business, because my goal was to tell the children on Christmas Day, we're going to Disneyland. That's your Christmas present. We're going to Disneyland. And anyway, I can't. I think it was about September, October time when the marriage kind of officially ended, and so it was kind of like the last thing on my mind, booking a family trip to Disneyland. But it was still this goal, still this vision, and I still wanted to go. And I worked with a business coach, and literally trying to make the money in my business. But then I was visualizing as well. I realized now, this is a process I've refined in terms of bringing the vision to life in your imagination. This is kind of what I was actively doing, and I was teaching the kids as well, right? Funny enough, I'm going to tell another story kind of side by side. My son, his big vision at the time, he wanted to be a mascot for Tottenham Hotspur, which is a big football team here. So I would give them these nightly kind of visualizations. I'd say, right, so Ben would really imagine being a mascot for Tottenham Hotspur, and Bonnie would imagine being, in Disney World, Orlando. And anyway, it got closer and closer to Christmas, and I hadn't hit my income goals. I couldn't see how this was going to happen. So I literally I let it go. I thought, when it happens, it happens. And on January the 4th, 2016, I got a telephone call from Disney head office in London. And they said, you've won an all expenses trip to Disney World Orlando. And I thought,
What?
oh my goodness, yes. And I'd literally won the flights, the passes, the accommodation, everything for Disney World Orlando. And what I'd done a few months earlier, and I remembered it clearly, I'd entered a contest in a shoe shop and literally filled out my name, address, prize draw, posted it in a box, didn't give it a second thought, and we won the first prize on that trip. And we got the
Oh my
news on the
gosh.
4th of January.
Oh, your kids must have gone crazy. That is so
I had gone
amazing.
crazy. But it was, and I still have the vision board here. Actually, I know this is audio, so I know you'll be able to see it, but I still have it here. It's very dogged
Oh,
now.
isn't
It's
that
very,
cute? Look, I'm looking at this with Harry Potter and the
it's got the roller
waterfalls with
coasters.
the thing going down. Oh my God, that is so
She even
cool.
put, I don't know if you can see here, where was it? Here, she put pancakes on her vision board. She said, everyone in America eats pancakes for breakfast. So she even down to her breakfast choices put
Oh my
pancakes
gosh.
on her vision board.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and it just, there's so many things that I learned from that experience that
Yeah.
and sure, that's just one of the things that we've kind of ticked off,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole thing. But it's so much fun, and that's why you've got to get clear on what you want and kind of let go
Yeah.
of how it's going to happen as well.
That is true. That is absolutely true. So why would someone like if starting from scratch, Melanie, if some why would somebody, for the listeners out there who've never done a vision board, why would they do one? Like why do a vision board?
Well, it's to kind of give yourself the time to get clear on, what's important to
Hmm.
you. Um, and I like to talk about the 4 pillars of the big vision as
Oh, right.
well.
Okay, 4 pillars. I'm writing these down. Okay. What are they? Give
Um,
us the overview first, and then you can go into
okay, so the four
explaining.
pillars are your vision for health. And I know
Hmm.
you know all about health. And
Yes.
so health, good health is really important. So
Hmm.
your vision for health. Um, Abundance. What's your vision for abundance? Now,
Mm,
I've been
okay.
teaching kind of money mindset for quite some time, having to think about my own money mindset, my own money stories. So abundance, and under that pillar would also come your work, your success,
Hmm.
how you make money, your income
Hmm.
streams.
Hmm.
Then we have environments, and this is your home. This is also where you travel to. It's kind of aspirations for future environments. Also, the car you drive. So it's where you are planted at any one time
Mm,
is
I
your
love
environment.
that.
And
Okay.
And then the last one is relationships.
Hmm. Okay.
And of course, I know there are other things that are important to people, but I find that most things will fit under one of those pillars. And yeah, outside relationships, and that's not just with your significant other. It's also relationships we have with our children,
Hmm.
our parents, our friends, our colleagues, and it's about improving your existing relationships, kind of letting go of ones that you know aren't really serving you anymore. But also some people, yeah, they want to manifest a soulmate or a partner, but some people just want to manifest a whole new circle of friends as well, and a network and a
Yes.
community. So relationships are so important, because what's the point of having everything else if you've got nobody to share it with?
Yes, I agree with you. I think last year I was thinking about relationships when my family will sit down and do a vision board thing for the new year. And it's my whole thing was relationships, not with my husband, not with my children. Well, I focused on those as well, but yeah, like new relationships. I was like, there's new exciting people out there in the world that I want to connect with. And I'm excited to, because we had been in COVID too. So I was just like so wanting to I love my family. I love my, bubble. I guess, everybody was in their bubble with their bubble friends. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm so ready to get outside my bubble, let's burst this bubble and get outside. Um, so abundance, like what kind of stuff would people think about outside of just like, when you focus people on abundance, what does that mean? Like, what would
Well,
you
I like to
focus
get
on?
people quite specific on,
Hmm.
what the vision, because sometimes, and I think this is when people kind of not go wrong with vision boards, but they will just, yeah, I'll stick on this, dream home, this Beverly Hills mansion or whatever. I'll
Yeah.
put on this, brand new Range Rover. I'll put all these things in, but without kind of really thinking about, and I know part of me kind of says, don't worry about the how so much, but also part of our lives is, how we make money and how we be of contribution and of service to the world. um, because I think for a lot of us, particularly kind of entrepreneurs, our work is so much a part of our lives that we've kind of got to love it. And so what I do love to help people is to kind of cultivate the entrepreneurial spark as well, that, people
Mm,
may have, and if they're perfectly happy in their careers as nurses, teachers, or whatever, that's great. But sometimes I do believe people have, we want to create and we want to put things out into the world, whether that's an artistic endeavor, writing a book. And I do believe that so many people are not monetizing their gifts and their talents. And this
mm.
is where I really love to help people as well. Particularly, in times when people are worried about money and the bills and the cost of living rising. Um, and a lot of people retreat into lack mode and saving and economizing. Um, I believe in expansion at this time, that we shouldn't really be holding back on our desires, but rather, what can I do to make this happen? How can I
Mm.
still live this amazing life, travel to these places, and make the things happen that I want to happen? Even with my kids, I'm thinking of entrepreneurial ideas for them to have while they're at school and college. There's all sorts of things that they can do
Yeah.
without having to go and resort to, flipping burgers. There's nothing wrong with flipping burgers if you want to, but there's a much better way that they can, um, you know, use their skills and gifts, and be of service as well.
That is very, very true. Yeah, I love that. I love that way. It's not just the obvious, how much money do I want to make or have, but it's my connection to the world, it's my connection to the universe. How am I going to be of service?
Mm.
And uh expanding, like you said. So because that definitely opens up the mind to be creative, engages the imagination rather than just like, what do I want to make or what do I want to have, which
Mm.
isn't as creative as what you're talking about. I love
Yeah,
that.
but
And
I do like to put income goals on my board as well, because sometimes we do kind of have to think, okay, if I do want that kind of house and I do want to drive that kind of car, what's this going to kind of cost me on a monthly basis? What's
right.
my mortgage payments going to be? Because, you know, I really highly encourage, you know, go on. I'm not sure what the US equivalent is, but in the UK we've got Rightmove, which is a big property website, and you can literally go dream house hunting, and you kind of think, yeah, I love the look of that beach house in Dorset, and it's going to cost me, you know, £2 million. But what would the monthly payments on that? So then you can then start chunking it down. Okay, in order for me to have that lifestyle of my vision board, I need to be making about 20 grand a month,
Mm-hmm.
for example. And then it's like, okay, what can I do that's going to bring me 20 grand a month? And then it's like it just opens up so many doors, just like, okay, you
Absolutely.
start getting into thinking mode, rather than, as 99% of people think, I can't possibly afford that, it's never going to happen, therefore I'm not even going to entertain that dream or that idea or that vision, and I'm just going to stay in my comfort zone. Thank you very much.
Yeah. It's so true. When you start chunking things down, uh, anything becomes possible. When you start getting really specific about things and asking yourself, because the mind is, it will, if it just believes that next step, you can take that next step. But you've got to chunk it down that far sometimes. Yeah, I agree with you, 100%. Well, what about health? Like what kind of things do you poke and prod in the world of health? I mean, obviously, you know, we are focused on weight management and being healthy and making healthy food choices. Are there people who want to get out of chronic disease, or do they, you know, like creating visions for being well if they've had sickness?
Absolutely, yes. I have got a couple of members of my community who've got MS, and
Mm,
you know, at different stages, and they both have a vision of vibrant health and being
mm,
well, and you know, living a full and, you know, full life. Um, yes, there's people who are, you know, trying to, you know, get to the ideal body weight, and but also fitness goals as well.
mm.
You know, personal challenges,
Yeah,
to
like being
actually, you
able
know,
to run a distance or
run a
something like that.
marathon or half marathon.
Yeah.
um to, you know, one of my um things that I, you know, love to help women is kind of, you know, I'm at this kind of perimenopausal age, and it's to kind of shift our mindset around aging as well, that I'm firmly, my one of my mantras is, the older I get, the better it gets. You know,
Mm,
the more fun life becomes, the easier life becomes, because what's the societal message? Oh, it's all downhill from here.
yeah. Well, it's not true, Melanie. It gets better and better. I love your mantra. I
Yeah.
love it. So how would you, like, if you were gonna coach people to sit down and put something together, what's the easiest way, or what are some steps to doing that?
Um, well, kind of how I've broken it down and how I've refined the process in the last few years is just, the first step is just to get clarity. You know,
Hmm.
what you know, what is it that your heart and soul truly desire right now? And to, you know, build a picture, you know, each of those pillars. What does that vision look like for you? Now, obviously, I go deeper with, you know, my clients. We kind of look at, actually, what are the stories? What's the old stuff that's been blocking you in each of those? You know,
Mm,
what are the old money blocks? What are kind of the stories? And I know you're the expert on this, around kind of, you know, your relationship with food and weight, but also, you know, what are kind of the stories that have been keeping you stuck? Perhaps, you know, there's patterns in relationships that you just can't seem to, you know, break out of. You know, you hear it often when people say, you know, I just keep falling for the same type of guy, and he just, you know, it's just like I'm just running this cycle over and over again. But also family patterns as well, ancestral patterns, things kind of often stay in the family,
yeah.
particularly kind of money stories as well. So it's kind of identifying a lot of that, and I use this process called TNT, which is why I call my process the TNT vision board experience, because TNT stands for transformational neural technique, and it's a process that I kind of developed and trademarked, and it's literally a combination of tapping and visualization, and sometimes you kind of have to go back in time to kind of reimagine a different past. So, you know, just for example, one of my clients, she felt that her story, it had its roots in being bullied as a child at school, and she often found herself in situations where she didn't speak up. So, you know, we did a TNT technique, going back and actually, you know, having a conversation with those childhood bullies. And yes, of course, you're not rewriting history, but we're doing tapping, we're doing release work on neutralizing the emotional charge of what happened then.
Right.
So what I say with TNT is it almost clears the past. You know,
It gives,
and
go ahead.
yeah, no, it clears the past. And the whole transformation, that it was kind of a happy accident, really, that the acronym TNT is also what dynamite is
Yes.
known as. So it clears the past, literally blasts it away, so that you can clear the path for the future.
I love that.
So that then you can, it's a bit like, you know, if you're going to make a vision board, but it's a bit like, I like to use gardening analogies quite a lot, that there's no point, you know, looking at your disaster zone of a garden with all the weeds and all the plants from last year, all the rocks and the rubble, and think, right, I'm going to go and plant a load of new plants in the garden now. You've got to dig up all the old weeds first and prepare the soil, and then you plant the seeds, you plant the bulbs, because that's a vision. So it's like you're clearing you're doing a clean up, you're doing clearing the past first, and then you are planting this vision in the fertile ground, which is going to give it the maximum, all the right conditions for it to flourish. And then the third, and it's funny, I always say the making of the vision board is probably the least important part of the process, because, as you know, anyone can go make a vision board.
Yes.
you don't need my assistance with it. But then it's, and the third part is what you do after the vision board is, this is kind of when I've kind of recognize some of the amazing things I've manifested in the past. Did I share my Who Wants to Be a Millionaire story?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I'll do this really quickly. So actually, this is another fun story. But this is kind of, I think, where the seeds of the TNT process was born. You know how our lives are a bit like a jigsaw, and think, that's how this happened. So anyway, when I am back in 2009, I was still working in a corporate headhunting career. My children were still quite small. I had a toddler and a baby, and I just wanted to be at home and look after the children. So I was just into the law of attraction and manifesting. And, you know, a very quick, shortened version of the story is that I told myself, I need to manifest £20,000. Then I will hand my notice in, I'll give up my job, and then I'm going to start my own business. That's how much I felt I needed. And then, you know, how, Mel, how's £20,000 going to come to you? So I was brainstorming. I thought, I need to go on a game show.
Oh my God.
This was before I knew how to create money in my own business. I literally the only path that this money could come to me was being on a game show. So it was like, okay, right, how do I get on a game show? So I went online. Okay, I quite like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. This is I love this show, and I think I could do well on this show. So how do you get on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? It turns out there was auditions up in Manchester, about 3 hours from me. And anyway, long story short, I got on the show. Actually, just before I tell you what happened next, I used to work when I was doing my corporate job, it was very near the studios where Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was filmed. So and this is what kind of got me thinking, I should go on this show. I imagined being on the hot seat. I visualized what it would feel like to be on the show. On the journey to work every day, it was like driving past my vision board. I imagined being in front of the host, Chris Tarrant, and I imagined how nervous I felt. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I've got heart palpitations here. My visualization is so realistic. And Anyway, just a few months later, that vision was a reality. I was in the studio, I was in the hot seat, I was had the studio lights on me, and I won £20,000, which was the amount.
No way. That
Yeah.
is crazy. See, you are a master, Melanie. You were a master even before you began. All right.
Well, it's all these kind of these things that just little jigsaw pieces that kind of came together, and it's been 15 years of um understanding these different energy laws and
Yeah.
these spiritual practices,
Yeah.
and putting them all together in this 3-day workshop.
Yes. Oh, I think it's amazing. So you have a 3-day workshop. Melanie, you guys are in like so Melanie is hosting this workshop in January of 2023. So tell us a little bit about this because I know you have also like a yeah, just to kind of walk us through what it is. I know it's a 3-day experience. So
Yeah,
a
so
taste.
I think so. It's a 3-day experience. Now we gather on Zoom. Now, I'm in the UK, just outside of London. So, I guess from a time zone perspective, you can never please everybody, and and particularly those in the West Coast, it's a little bit trickier. But I have had people kind of wake up at the crack of dawn, join me live. And it's not 3 days, all day, every day. The first day, we do a vision planning session together just to get clarity on the
Mm,
vision. Um, so that on day 2, you know what you're going to be focusing on. Then we do some other kind of spiritual kind of letting go practices, just do that kind of that clearing bit that I talked about just now. Then we
yeah.
make the vision boards collectively as a group, because I think it's magical when the group energy gets together. We literally have people from every single continent on the world, and people get to know each other. People, I've had really good friendships created on this experience, and people then share afterwards. It's almost like them speaking into existence, what it is you want to create. And then
Right.
on day 3, I take people through I call it the vision embodiment process, using TNT again, to really live and to activate that vision in their imagination. We add, tapping to this as well. And everything's recorded. So I'd say probably about 50% of people join me live, and the other 50% watch the replays and do it in their own time. But I like people to kind of join in the kind of the group, and I ask people, get it done within 7 days, because you know what it's like. You can leave these
Yes,
things,
and then you
and
never get it done.
then you never get it done. So I give
Yeah.
people 7. A lot of people actually complete it in the allocated time. They share it, which is wonderful. And yeah, so that's kind of pretty much the process, and it's so fun. And every year I just enjoy it just more and more, and people have a blast doing it.
So the distinction between like sitting down and doing this yourself, cutting out some pictures from like what I used to do, pictures from
Hmm.
People magazine,
Yeah.
put my thing on, is there's a process behind this where you are clearing the way, you are using tapping and meditation to
Yeah.
really dig out the whole old stuff. And it's interesting because with weight management is it's similar. Like we have people have these like well, we all have our what I call our struggle story that we kind of carry with us, that are all the failed diets and all those things. And if you go back, because it sounds like what you do is not only clear the path, but you reframe the path, meaning you look at it from a different perspective. Like you talk
Hmm.
to those bullies, and now you have the upper hand in that scenario. So your relationship, you can't undo the memory per se, but you can change your relationship to it so that you can
Yeah.
re-see. And similarly, we do that with weight management. We re-see the past story as like an empowerment story, because all those what we would maybe normally say, oh, I failed on that diet. It's like, oh no, I learned something from that. And so I learned more and more and have become more and more skilled, knowledgeable to really finally be done and be successful, because all of those were kind of like stepping stones to the present, right?
Mm.
So you do a lot of work, pre-work, then you make the board, which is, like you said, the small part of it, and then you embody all of that. That's so
Yes.
cool. I love that.
And then the vision embodiment bit, I really encourage people just to work with that. You just keep living that vision, in your imagination, daily. Neuroscientists say it takes 68 days to rewire or rather to create a new neural pathway. And when I look back on it now, I didn't know back then that it was 68 days for me to, manifest being on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But when I think about the time frames that were involved, I was doing that on my drive to work every
Mm,
day,
hmm.
daydreaming. I'm a Pisces, so I daydream very naturally. And but I was doing this process without even realizing. But with all the other elements, I was so fixated. The ultimate big vision goal was to start my own business and be at home with the kids. How I could see that happening was being on the game show and winning the money, because I was laser focused. And that's
Mm,
why I think I was successful on such a random manifestation. Same with Disneyland. They were very specific. It was just like I was laser focused on those things. And that's why I want people, to get focused on your life and these things that are so important, because without a shadow of a doubt, I absolutely 100%, with my daughter's help for Disneyland, we created that Disneyland experience. But the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, 100%, there was no fluke or accident or chance
yeah,
there. It
that
was
is
all created.
so amazing. Um, so now why is it not, I just have to ask, Melanie, why is it not January 1st that you're doing this? And because I know it's a little later in January. So give us
Yeah,
your reasoning.
there's a couple of reasons. There's the practical reason that I think January the 1st, most people are a bit hungover. um, also it's also my son's birthday, so I don't like to do it January the 1st. But actually, I do a lot of my work according to moon cycles. Now, this is the other part of me. I have
Oh,
quite a spiritual kind of a woo-woo element to my work that um I I've for years I've been doing my work around moon cycles, and I always do it, my vision board experience, on the first new moon of the year, which next year happens to be the 20th of January. So I think it runs from the 20th to 22nd of January. I hope I've got those dates correct. They'll be confirmed.
oh,
You'll confirm the
wow.
exact
That's so
dates.
cool.
And yeah, because new moons are all about new beginnings, intention setting, and yeah, it's about newness. And
Yes.
yeah, there's
I think that's perfectly timed too, because I agree with you that we are so frazzled as well after the holidays, and we don't
yeah.
know, our ass from our elbow, pardon my
Mm.
French, that it takes a little while to get back into the rhythm of things to kind of, and then like, oh, okay, let me look to the future. Let me make some decisions. That
Yeah.
sounds like a really great time. I
And
know
I
it's
take
kind
people through, and people have got some, other exercises they can go through. And there's another kind of like a little tapping thing, pre-recorded stuff that people can do even more groundwork before
Oh, prior to the
life
actual
events.
workshop itself. Oh, cool. Well, listen, if you guys are interested in joining Melanie, I think I will be joining Melanie. This sounds really awesome. I need to clear some branches,
Yes,
some logs out of the path,
dead wood.
and TNT my way to a powerful 2023. So if you're interested, Melanie's link will be in the show notes, and you can check out how to get in and join. I'm it's super excited that you have people coming from all over the world to this as well, because
It
it's
gives such
fun to do this with other people.
it gives such an amazing energy, and connections are formed, on these Zooms. And people can start, once people start sharing, I have this uncanny ability to attract, I don't know, I feel it's like my soul family. We're connected on some kind of soul, some kind of energetic level. The right people are all connected
Right.
on the Zoom. And there may well be some people on that call that can start helping you manifest your vision in that room.
Right. Oh, interesting too. Right. Because you can put stuff out there and then people can connect with you
Mm,
on that.
yeah.
So cool. I'll tell you a quick story. So, manifesting story. I don't know if I've told my listeners this, but, or well, maybe you have, but anyway, it's super crazy. But I've manifested some crazy things in my life, including my husband. And, and I remember because I was dating. I didn't date a lot in New York. I lived in New York, and I was, there is a joke when you live in New York City that you like the men are either married, crazy, or gay. And I actually literally had a friend who dated a crazy married gay man. So anyway, we were like, okay, we're done. We're done with New York men. I'm not going to do this anymore. And I got really clear. I was like, I know what I don't want because I had dated kind of all of them. And I was
Mm,
like, what do I want? Like, what is the kind of person I want to be with? And kind of like your millionaire story, I
mm,
felt it. I was like, he would be like this and he would be funny and he would be comfortable and I just all of these things. And I was laying in a bathtub. I just remember this. I had lit a candle and I just said, okay, that's it. And then I said, universe, there you go. Kind of like you with the Disneyland, like let it go. I was just like, now I'm
mm,
done. I'm going to just go live my life.
mhm.
And 2 days later, I met my husband. Isn't that
Wow.
crazy?
I love it.
So I'm a big believer in all of this. I don't know. I know you are very woo-woo for a British person. I'm California. I'm supposed to be woo-woo, but no, no. Actually, it's interesting because I find British people are actually very into hypnosis, very into the healing arts, and all. In a way, sometimes maybe even more than people here in the United States. I don't know, but it's lovely to speak with you about this stuff, Melanie, and thank you for sharing all of that. These are some great insights because I had never thought of really segregating or not segregating, but segmenting so that you can get very specific about these different aspects of your year or your
Mm.
life.
And one final thing I'd just like to add is, we talked about at the very beginning that time is just going by so quickly at the moment. And this is kind of the energy that I my intention for this particular vision, and it's not an intention that I've put out there before, that I think time is speeding up, but also for our manifestations. Well, my intention is that I don't want people to have to wait years for this stuff to happen.
Mm,
I'm kind of even putting like a 12-month kind of goal on this, that,
mm,
what can things look like for you in the next 12 months?
yeah.
Um, yeah, so I do actually have a little freebie. It's called the 12-month future you meditation. If your listeners want to download that, they can access that immediately. And
Okay,
it just
sure.
takes
That'd
you,
be great. I'll put that in show notes.
yeah, and it just takes you for a little trip into the future, like just 12 months from now. Because, and just like you said, how you manifest your husband, I think when we let go of the resistance, when we do the prep work, this stuff can happen fast. And that's the intention um, I'm putting out there for people, going through this
Yeah.
process with me. Let's make this stuff happen quickly, because, we're not getting any
I
younger.
Well, I was going
I'm
to
done
ask you
with being,
about that. Like, do people come back then every year and do it again with you for every year? Because it is a year, right? Like you guys are working on, we'll be
yeah, well,
working
I
on
actually, yeah, in
2023.
my community, we actually do this twice a year together. We do
Oh,
this in
wow. Okay,
January and we
cool.
do it again in June. And I'm a firm believer that our visions change. And they, 12, 13 years ago, the big vision I had was to quit my corporate career and just be a stay-at-home mum and have a fledgling therapy business. My vision was no bigger than that. But then as my kids have got older, as my life's changed, my vision has changed. And, the same will happen for all of us. So it's not like you've made one vision board and you're stuck
No,
with that for the next 20 years.
yeah,
Our lives evolve, but our priorities change as well. And then, what was important 5 years ago might not be so important anymore. So,
yeah,
and a different pillar may be your focus. So,
yeah.
yeah.
That's so cool. So everybody, so I will have a couple of links in the show notes. It's ways to, if you want to enroll in her upcoming workshop, which sounds really exciting, 20th of January, 2023. Those of you past that time, um, we'll probably change up the link, or you can contact, we'll have Melanie's contact so that you can contact her and get into the June or the next, if you are listening to this later than that. I know we have to be mindful of all of our friends who find us a little later, but this has been awesome. I'm really looking forward to that. The whole idea of, I love the end of the year and the beginning of the year for this reason. It's such a powerful thing to do and opportunity. So thank you so much for coming on and guiding us all through that, Melanie. It's been a pleasure to have you back.
Thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to talk to you again, Rita.
Well, thank you, and Happy New Year to you.
And to you too.
Thank you, Melanie, for being on the show. And everybody, check out what Melanie has to offer with her workshop in January, and with her freebie that she's offering you. Those are both in the show notes. Have an amazing holiday season, everyone. From here at Thin Thinking to you and yours, happy, healthy, and vibrant holidays. We will be back next week for more Thin Thinking. But until then, have an amazing, love-filled, connection-filled, healthy week. And remember that the key, and probably the only key to unlocking the door of the weight struggle, is inside you. So keep listening and find it. Thanks for listening to the Thin Thinking podcast. Did that episode go by way too fast for you? If so, and you want to dive deeper into the mindset of long-term weight release, head on over to www.shiftweightmastery.com. That's www.shiftweightmastery.com, where you'll find numerous tools and resources to help you unlock your mind for permanent weight release, tips, strategies, and more. And be sure to check the show notes to learn more about my book, From Fat to Thin Thinking, Unlock Your Mind for Permanent Weight Loss, and to learn how to subscribe to the podcast so that you never miss an episode.